Vamplew betting again. Looks like around 50,000. Make that 52. Anderson shoves.
All in.
Enough to put Vamplew all in.
There you see Calvin Anderson with Jack 3, which is not a very good hand, but that's what he has, and he's shoving on David Vamplew. Now, you might think, players get shoved on all the time. What's the big deal?
I mean, come on.
The big deal is this is one of the biggest bubbles on the poker calendar. It is the Monte Carlo EPT main event. It's a 15,000 euro bubble or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Maybe 20.
It's a really big bubble, and it's not just a bubble, it's a super bubble because there is a known all-in at another table.
So, yeah, I mean, this is great stuff. And by the way, that is known player Calvin Anderson against known player David Vamplew. These guys are great pros, really, really proficient, and have completely different styles, which is what plays into this hand.
Yeah, it's really cool, and that's why Ben Jones-Groves suggested it on Twitter. Use Twitter, use a YouTube link, you know, at a timestamp. Don't make us go looking around.
No, we're not going to do that.
Suggest a hand for the breakdown.
But if you suggest a hand, we might use it and call out your name, just like we did with Mr. Ben Jones-Groves.
Congratulations, Ben, and congratulations to you if you have any Dash Digital Cash, because that is the sponsor of this video, and it is an awesome cryptocurrency.
Indeed it is. It is both lightning fast, and when I say that, I mean you get the money in like 1 second, phone to phone, just bam, it's there. It's incredible.
Faster than a credit card by a significant margin.
By a huge amount,
yeah.
And crazy cheap, less than a penny to send it, no matter how much Dash you're sending. You can send millions of dollars worth of Dash, still less than a penny. It's an incredibly useful cryptocurrency.
We made a longer video outlining the benefits of cryptocurrency in general, and then specifically talking about why Dash is special among those cryptocurrencies. It's down there in the description, along with your ability to download the Dash wallet for Android or iOS. We strongly recommend you do that because we do give away Dash sometimes, you know, Jonathan.
We absolutely do. Now let's get to the hand.
Freddie swings.
Well, let's stick with this table because we've got Action Anderson. And looks like he's going to tangle with Vamplew again. David 3-betting to 21,000.
Now it's the Vamps trying to pick on Cal's initial raise.
You look 200 to start, or?
The blinds are folded, so the action is back on Anderson. And he is going to call Vamplew's 3-bet. An ace-deuce-4 flop.
This isn't the wettest of boards.
Anderson checks to the razor. Vamplew will continue with 26,500.
And because there aren't a ton of draws out here, when Cal calls, I think he has an ace or a flush draw a lot.
5 of spades on the turn. Anderson checks a second time. Crowd building on one of the adjacent tables. Looks like there's an all-in there. Vamplew betting again. Looks like around 50,000. Make that 52. Anderson shoves.
All in.
Enough to put Vamplew all in. He calls.
That escalated quickly.
Vamplew flop top pair. Anderson turned a straight, and Vamplew is drawing to a chop.
Anderson peeled one with a gutter ball, and he got there. Gross.
Vamplew looking for a 3, but it's a deuce. He is out.
To be able to properly understand what's going on in this hand, we have to understand who Calvin Anderson is and his reputation and how that impacts everything about the decisions for David Vamplew.
Right, because a lot of you probably are sitting there thinking, okay, David Vamplew's a moron. He just went out on the bubble with one pair. He started the hand with over 50 bigs. How can that ever be right? Right? That might be the initial thought you're having, but we actually think Vamplew did everything correct in this hand, and a lot of it has to do with the dynamic between these two players knowing each other and the fact that Calvin Anderson is a known crazy person.
Absolutely. I mean, Calvin Anderson is playing, first of all, let's be clear, we're on the absolute stone bubble of this tournament, right? This is a big deal already. Calvin Anderson has got a cajillion chips, and he's opening, as you see, Jack 3 under the gun for a minimum raise because he is playing everything right now, bullying the heck out of the bubble.
Here's a little background on Calvin, all right? He is the #1 online player at the time of this, or somewhere around here. He's the #1 online player in the world. So he plays like a Gus Hansen accelerated range, which seems like it could never be profitable. But Calvin took it to such an extreme and studied so hard at that type of play that he actually became good enough at it to be profitable against the best players in the world, playing this insane style. And everybody, including David Vamplew, knows it. It makes him terrifying. You never know what he can have. Obviously, look at what he has here. So that's what Vamplew's up against here when he's making these decisions.
Yeah, it's a really sort of, as we would say in the poker world, a poopy spot.
Yes, yes.
For sure. So Anderson, the one most interesting play to me, so Anderson opens, fine. Vamplew 3-bets. Anderson decides to call pre-flop, fine.
Yeah.
Anderson flops a gut shot and decides to call out of position with just the gutter and really nothing else, right?
Well, he's got to have a couple plans here.
Yeah.
He's probably going to take it away on any heart turn, or at least try to take it away on any heart turn. So it's kind of cool to have a straight draw when the flush draw is the more obvious draw, because your opponent's going to be looking for those flush cards more, so you can rep those. But if the straight card comes in, they might not be looking for that, and maybe you can get paid. So that's probably part of what Calvin's doing. Along with that, it is the stone bubble, so he thinks he can bully Vamplew, because Vamplew still has a ton of chips, and Anderson has way more chips. He's willing to put it all on the line at any time. That's this guy's style.
And let's be clear, it's actually beyond the stone bubble. It's actually the super bubble.
Yes.
Because as this hand is playing out, at the table right next to them, they can see this, they can hear this, they know this is going on.
Crowd building on one of the adjacent tables. Looks like there's an all-in there.
There's another player who is all in, and there's been a call, which means both of them know that it's very possible the bubble is bursting after this hand. So Vamplew has got to think, if he just folds, there's an incredibly high likelihood he's immediately in the money. Now, he's got enough chips that if he just decides not to call Anderson shoved, he knows he's going to be in the money no matter what.
Yeah, he'll be totally fine.
Right, but like, it's going to be automatic here.
But the metagame involved makes it so unprofitable to fold against Anderson here, because we know Anderson has a 3. That's super unlucky for Vamplew. How often is he really going to have a 3 here? I know his range is infinite, and Calvin knows he has a range advantage here. So does Vamplew, and that might play into Vamplew calling, because Vamplew knows Anderson's a guy who's never going to stop pressing those raise buttons, right? And he knows that Anderson has a range advantage. So Vamplew can't go folding top here when Anderson is just going to try to take advantage of the situation.
I'm actually not sure if Anderson has a range advantage, but he does have like the top of range advantage for sure. Like the best hand Vamplew can ever have is a set of aces, and he mostly is going to have a hand just like he has, like ace king or ace queen, right? Almost always. Well, Anderson can have 2 pair, he can have straights, because he can have any 2 cards, right?
Anderson has a wider swath of strong value because he has any of the 2 pairs on the board based on his style, and he has a lot of 3s in his range, right? So he has all of that value, and that typically would mean, okay, you're supposed to fold if you're Vamplew. But what it means here is that Anderson is going to rep it every single time, and that you have to call, because sometimes this guy shows up with 9, 10 of spades here.
Right.
You know, you just have to. This is such a huge opportunity to have over 100 blinds and take a leg out from one of the better players at the table, if not the best player at the table. It's an opportunity Vamplew has to take, even though it's a major money bubble.
One of the things you'll notice is Vamplew bets the turn, Calvin moves in pretty quickly, and Vamplew wastes no time at all throwing his calling chips in, even though he just has 1 pair, because he's already thought this whole thing out. He has a plan, and he's following through with it. It doesn't feel great when you get shoved on here.
No, of course not.
Because, you know, you definitely can be losing, but he thinks overall it's a profitable play, and so do we.
Yeah, and obviously he was ready for it. It's not like he was like, oh no, he shoved on me.
What do I do now? Let me tank for 10 minutes.
He totally knew what was going on. We think it's the right play, even though it cost him a bunch of money.
Yep. I really like that hand. That's a cool hand.
Yeah.
And it's neat to see these 2 guys sort of going at it in this very dynamic spot in this tournament. What did you guys think of this hand? What did you think of the decisions? Do you think even after all we said, it's still a pretty easy fold for Vamplew? Because, you know, there are 4 to a straight on the board. Let us know what you think in the comments and what you would do. We look forward to seeing what you have to say.
That sounds pretty interesting. I mean, I don't know. This one is just, we have a pretty clear decision on what we think is correct for Vamplew to do, but it is a weird, tough spot, right? It's just like, especially with the bubble element, it's kind of cool. Now, we had Vamplew in another spot on the EPT against a crazy guy. I don't remember his name, but he was kind of a crazy guy. Anyway, it was a really fun hand, blind versus blind. Click right up there to check it out.
Yeah, definitely do. If you want to know how we came to all these thoughts, we actually got into a long discussion on our podcast, The Breakdown, presented by the Poker Guys, about bubble play and, you know, ways people take advantage of it, and even things we think we could do better in bubble play and all that. If you want to hear all about that, you got to check it out. It's on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app.
Choose your favorite podcast app, whichever podcast app that may be. And of course, subscribe to this video if you liked it.